They say betrayal hurts the most when it comes from someone you trusted with your whole heart. But no one ever prepares you for the day when both your best friend and your partner stab you in the back at the same time. That day shattered everything I believed in: friendship, loyalty, and love. Her name was Maya. We had been inseparable since high school. Two girls who finished each other's sentences, who shared secrets late at night, who swore we'd always have each other's backs. She was more than a best friend. She was the sister I chose. And then there was Adrian. He came into my life 2 years ago, quiet and charming, the kind of man who made me feel safe just by being near. Our relationship wasn't perfect, but it was real, or at least I thought it was. I loved him with everything I had. The cracks started small, almost invisible. Maya would jokingly tease Adrian in front of me, her laughter just a little too loud, her eyes lingering just a little too long. Adrian, to his credit, or so I thought, kept his distance. But something in my gut told me I was missing a piece of the puzzle. Then came the night I'll never forget. I was supposed to meet Adrian for dinner, but he cancelled last minute, claiming he had to stay late at work. Disappointed, I decided to surprise Maya instead. Her apartment was only a few blocks away, and I knew she'd be happy to see me. Or so I thought. When I reached her building, I noticed Adrian's car parked outside. My heart stuttered, my mind scrambling for an explanation. Maybe he'd dropped something off. Maybe she needed his help. I told myself 1,000 lies as I climbed the stairs, each one more desperate than the last. The sound hit me before the sight did: laughter, muffled voices, and then silence. I pushed the door open, and the world tilted on its axis. There they were. Maya, wrapped in Adrian's arms. Adrian, looking at her with the same tenderness I once believed was mine. Time froze. My breath caught in my throat, my heart screaming even as my body went numb. They didn't even notice me at first. They were too lost in each other. When they finally looked up, shock painted their faces, but the damage was done. Wait, it's not what it looks like. Maya stammered, scrambling away. But it was exactly what it looked like. Adrian opened his mouth, but I didn't hear a word. My ears rang, my vision blurred, and all I could see was the years of friendship, the whispered secrets, the promises, all of it turned to ash in a single moment. I left without another word, the door slamming behind me. That night, I sat alone in my apartment, the betrayal replaying over and over like a cruel film I couldn't switch off. Tears came in waves, anger boiling beneath them, threatening to consume me. But in the midst of that storm, a seed of something darker began to grow. I realized something very clearly. Maya and Adrian hadn't just betrayed me. They had underestimated me. They thought I would cry, break, and disappear quietly. They thought I would give up the life I had built with Adrian and the bond one had shared with Maya without a fight. They were wrong. The pain I felt that night became fuel. If they wanted to rip my life apart, I would make sure they paid for it, not with screams or violence, but with something much more powerful: the truth. Because what Maya and Adrian didn't know was that I held secrets too. Secrets that, if revealed, could destroy everything they were so desperate to protect. And I was no longer afraid to use them. The morning after that betrayal, I woke up with swollen eyes and a hollow chest. For a brief second, I thought it had all been a nightmare. But the emptiness beside me in bed, the silence of my phone, and the ache in my stomach told me it was real. Maya and Adrian. My best friend and the man I loved. Every part of me wanted to scream at them, to confront them in front of everyone, to tear down the false image of loyalty they had carefully built. But instead, I forced myself to breathe. I forced myself to wait. Because I knew anger could be wild and messy, but patience, that was sharp and deadly. I started paying attention. For the next few weeks, I pretended nothing had happened. I let Adrian think I believed his excuses about work and late nights. I let Maya text me half-hearted apologies and fake concern, as if she hadn't broken the very foundation of our friendship. On the outside, I was quiet and forgiving. On the inside, I was sharpening knives made of truth. You see, Maya had her own secrets, one she thought I didn't know. She was reckless with money, drowning in debt she hid beneath her carefully curated image. Credit cards maxed out, rent payments borrowed from her parents. And Adrian. He wasn't as clean-cut as he pretended to be either. He had lied about his job, exaggerated his position. A few clicks, a few quiet inquiries, and I discovered he was hanging on to his career by a thread after being caught in a shady workplace scheme. Together, they were a perfect match, two liars clinging to illusions. And that was when my plan took shape. First, I started documenting everything. Screenshots of their texts. Yes, Adrian had been careless enough to text her even while I was in the room. Photos of Maya's overdue bills she left lying around. Records of Adrian's professional misconduct that I quietly accessed through a friend of a friend. Piece by piece, I was building a weapon they couldn't see coming. But revenge isn't just about destroying people. It's about making them feel the weight of what they did to you. So, I began to turn the wheel slowly. I encouraged Maya to confide in me again, pretending I was still her loyal best friend. She fell for it, pouring out her worries about Adrian, her debts, her fear of losing everything. I nodded, I comforted, I acted like the sister she had once been to me. With Adrian, I played the role of the supportive girlfriend one last time. I laughed at his jokes, cooked his favorite meals, and asked about work as if I cared. He didn't notice how carefully I was collecting his lies, how his stories shifted, how each detail gave me another piece of leverage. But the cruelest part. They both thought they had one. They thought I was too weak to leave, too dependent on them to walk away. They thought their secret was still hidden, when in truth, I held it in the palm of my hand, waiting for the perfect moment to crush it. That moment came sooner than I expected. One evening, Maya invited me to dinner at her apartment. Just the two of us, like old times. I almost laughed at the audacity, but I went, because I knew Adrian would be there. Sure enough, halfway through the meal, he showed up, looking startled when he saw me. Maya covered quickly, saying he had just dropped by. The air was thick with tension. That's when I leaned back, smiled, and asked a simple question. So, how long have you two been lying to me? Silence. Adrian froze. Maya's fork clattered against her plate. Their faces drained of color as I pulled out my phone, scrolling casually through the evidence I had collected. The texts. The calls. The photos. Their world unraveled right there at the dinner table. But I wasn't finished. I leaned closer and whispered, "You thought you could betray me and walk away. But I promise you, this is just the beginning." I left them shaking, speechless, terrified of what I might do next. And as I walked out into the night, the cold air filling my lungs, I felt something I hadn't felt since that night of betrayal. Power. They had broken me once. Now it was my turn to break them, but slowly, piece by piece, until they had nothing left. The night I confronted Maya and Adrian was just the opening move. I didn't want their shame in private. I wanted their worlds to collapse around them, just as they had shattered mine. The morning after that dinner, Maya began texting me non-stop. Apologies, excuses, desperate claims that it just happened and didn't mean anything. Adrian tried to call me too, but his tone wasn't remorseful, it was defensive. He wanted control. He wanted to spin the story so he was still the hero. But I stayed silent. Silence is the most terrifying response, and they both knew it. Instead, I worked. First, I prepared the fall of Adrian. He loved to flaunt his prestigious job, the tailored suits, the luxury dinners he couldn't afford. I had the records of his misconduct, emails, reports, even proof of financial manipulation. I knew exactly who to send it to. Within a week, his company launched an internal investigation. Within a month, Adrian was unemployed, his name whispered with disgust among his colleagues. Next, Maya. Her debts were already swallowing her, but she always relied on charm and manipulation to escape. She had lied to friends, borrowed money from relatives, always playing the victim. So, I carefully let the truth slip. Not in a dramatic expose, but in subtle whispers at the right places. I told a mutual friend who told another, who told another. Within weeks, Maya's perfect facade cracked. People stopped lending her money. Invitations dried up. Everyone saw her for what she was, a liar and a thief of trust. But my revenge wasn't complete yet. I wanted them to feel the weight of betrayal the way I had, the humiliation, the loneliness, the sting of being cast aside. So I set the final stage. I organized a small gathering with our mutual circle of friends. It was framed as a casual get-together, something to reconnect. Both Maya and Adrian showed up, still pretending everything was fine, still holding hands like their love could erase their crimes. That was when I played the video. A simple compilation, screenshots of their messages, the receipts of their lies, Adrian's misconduct, Maya's debts. Every secret laid bare on the screen in front of the very people they valued most. The room fell silent. Maya burst into tears, begging me to stop. Adrian tried to shout over me, calling me crazy and vindictive. But no one believed them anymore. Their reputations, once polished, once envied, were destroyed in an instant. And me. I just sat there, calm, sipping my drink, watching their world burn. After that night, Maya blocked me, Adrian vanished from my life, and neither ever dared to face me again. I didn't need to chase them, I had already won. But here's the part one didn't expect. Revenge doesn't just end with destruction. It changes you. For weeks, I felt powerful, untouchable. But then, slowly, I realized something. Their betrayal had hurt me, yes, but holding on to it had almost defined me. Once I had taken everything back, once they were stripped bare, I felt free. Free from Maya's lies. Free from Adrian's false love. Free from the version of myself that accepted less than I deserved. The night I stood in that room and exposed them wasn't just the end of their story. It was the beginning of mine. Because revenge isn't just about making others pay. Sometimes, it's about reclaiming your life, piece by piece, until you're whole again. And that was the sweetest victory of all.